So, talk about putting foot in your mouth. But this guy today is easily the most recognized angler in Minnesota, as well as one of the best. I used to go to some of the national bass tournaments he was in, just reporting on what Mr. Al Lindner was accomplishing in the name of Minnesota. Let's give him a nice welcome, Al Lindner. Come on up, Al.
You could cook long enough, but you got the sweet spot, I believe. I'm glad you found it because I can't stand in one spot. It would really drive me bonkers. Let me step up here. I'm going to call this the sweet spot. Is the audio sounding pretty good now?
Yeah.
Yay, thank you, Lord. We got a miracle.
Amen.
I want to take a moment to thank all of you for taking the time to come out here today and listen to the things that I'm going to share and talk about big fish. I have some things on my heart that I want to talk about that I hope you would be blessed to hear and think about looking into the future of what this sport could look like. It's a real honor for me to be here when I'm a lifelong Minfish fan. And, we seen was the concept of Minfish is we have to have this, we have to have this. And we got the right people in the right places at the right time. And you're one of those people. You didn't have to come here today. You made a decision to come here because you care about the future of sport fishing in the state of Minnesota. That's why you're here today. That's a big deal. And that weighs heavy on those of us that make our living in the fishing industry. To know that there's that many people that really, really care. Many of you have interest in certain aspects of the sport, certain species of fish. And when I was thinking about what can I say, what can I talk about that would be really interesting to a group like this. So the theme that I arrived at is world-class fishing. When I say, or you hear the term, world-class fishing, what do you think about? You each have a special thought in your mind right now. World-class. You probably experienced it, you fish a lot. Some memorable fishing experiences. 55 plus years living in Minnesota, and making my living in the sport fishing industry. I've been involved in lots and lots of different things. Seen a lot of things that worked, seen a lot of things that didn't work. And I was fortunate enough, I fished every state, I fished in every state except Maine. That's a bucket list trip for me. I haven't fished in Maine yet, but I've been everywhere else. So I've seen a lot of things that worked and didn't work. Things that were tried. I experienced some of the best fishing you could ever see in your life, and I experienced some of the absolute worst in different parts of the country. Well, I'm going to share with you what it means to me when I say world-class fishing. Because at different points in time, we have seen it here in Minnesota. So I know it could be done. We've seen it with different species of fish where it peaked and then crashed. And we've seen it in a lot, and I'm going to give examples because you learn by some of your mistakes. That's how we learn things. And we take, what did we do, what could we do right, or how could we improve on this? When I was thinking back to the 55 years here, when was Minnesota, in my opinion, the best it could possibly be? The best fishing experience, the best window of time in those 55 years for every kind of fish that swims in this state. And for me, it was 2014. 2014, the fishing across the state of Minnesota was unbelievable. And all for everything, every species of fish, and I want to elaborate on that. It was, that year, 2014, it was magic. Things, zebra mussels were already getting in lakes. We're starting to see some changes in things. But at that window of time, all of our big walleye lakes, the walleye fishing was phenomenal. Even our mid-sized lakes, Gull Lake, Ottertail, Pelican, mid-sized lakes like this, the walleye fishing was incredible. There wasn't only the big mega lakes, and they were really good. You know, really, really good. And some of them, depending on the time frame, the walleye fishing was world class. It was that good. All of our walleye fishers, so now things change. We have to get back these things that we have to make adjustments to. But that time frame, let me use Mille Lacs as one example too. I'm going to talk about each species of fish. Mille Lacs at that time, the smallmouth bass fishing was the best that I have ever seen in my life. It was the best smallmouth fishing I've ever seen, period. Period. Shortly after that, BASS came here, word trickled out there, they put a big tournament on Mille Lacs Lake, and bingo, the press covered it. It became one of the most famous lakes, smallmouth lakes in the world, and it's still rated real high up there. You go to the parking lots now on Mille Lacs in July, August, you look through there, Indiana, Kentucky, Arkansas, Illinois, Missouri, bass boats. There's more people fishing smallmouth bass than there is walleyes. What happened? More bass fishermen than walleye fishermen. The fishery still, the reason that it was so good, there was a handful of us. The lake, when I'm talking world class at this point on the smallmouth, I'm talking 4 to 5 pound fish with an occasional 6. It was jam-packed with big fish. And there was only a handful of us fishing them. That's why it was so good. I go on Miramar Reef for 5 hours in the afternoon, and you see 2 walleye boats, and we'd be the only boat fishing smallmouth. Now you go on Miramar Reef, anytime there's 20 bass fishermen on it, and 2 guys fishing walleyes on the drop boats. I mean, it totally changed. It changed. It's still good. But it was so good at that window of time. Everything we had closed seasons. There's a lot of things that made that fishery absolutely world class. And then we had the fishery was closed. It was all catch and release, you know, for many, many years. And that smallmouth fishery started to take hold all over the lake. The habitat, the environment was right for it. So everything moved right. But at that same time, the walleye fishing was good, and the muskie fishing, you could go on the north end of the lake, and many of you had seen, it was like a thrill to get up on those flats and run with that boat and see big giant muskies laying up on the sand in 6 feet of water. And then 1 here, 2 over here, 3 over here. The muskie fishing was just exploding. Mille Lacs was world class for big fish. Big fish. Then, well, I'm using Mille Lacs at that point, because everything, the walleye fishing was good, the bass fishing was good, the muskie fishing was superb, pike fishing was so-so. But the other lakes in the area across the state, it echoed these same stories. These different lakes cycle through with some phenomenal peaks in them. And Red Lake comes to mind, the crappie phenomenon, Red Lake. World class for what, 10, 12 years? That people came from all over the country to go ice fishing because there was 14, 15, 16 inches. You even heard the rumor of an occasional 17 if it's true or not. But they made more money on Red Lake when that crappie fishery was booming than they do with the walleye fishery now. Why? It was world class. People, fish are there, people will spend the money to come to fishing. But you have a world class fishery. That lake, using all of these different lakes as different examples. Recently, we've made some major strides in panfish in our state. This goes back, it didn't just happen. You know, there became a real interest in our crappie fishing and in our bluegill fishing. And I'll tell you, today, with all of the crappie changes, and we've had enough changes, and I'm seeing more of 14-inch crappies than I've seen a long, long time in the areas in the lakes and on. We're seeing a lot of big crappies coming up, a lot of them. And I think it's better than it's been in many, many years for the crappie. The regulations are part of why that is. And the bluegill movement, the education that took place to get our trophy bluegills back on that track. And you're seeing more and more bigger bluegills. We know what it takes. There's been an educational program on the bluegills to release the males. We've bombarded the press. Just tell them why, do this, and people are responding to it. We're seeing the big giant 10-inch bluegills starting to pop up. And you want a world-class bluegill fishery in Minnesota? Otterdale Lake. Not that far from here. A sparkling gem for giant 10-inch bluegills. And that's one of many. My home area is right in Minnesota. Every once in a while, somebody bumps into those big mega bluegills and fishing walleyes in Bell Lake. They're the big giant gills. And what we're seeing, all of these things are good. Regulation is needed. We'll manage the fisheries better. We're learning what worked, what didn't work. I want to go to the muskie fishery. I want to talk a little bit about the muskie fishery. To say, well, overall, our walleye fishery, from my perspective, what we're seeing all over the state, is pretty darn good. Can it be better? Yes. And there's some things we're addressing with it. And I'm a big fan, I'm going to say it anyway. I'm a big fan of four fish when I might as well carry that over a little bit. Why do I believe four fish went over 20? When all of the stats, the fishery people in the know will come back and tell you, all our research says it doesn't make no difference because nobody's ever going to catch. There's so very few people are going to catch 6 fish, and it's not going to make no difference if we do it. I tend to disagree with you. Most of the knowledge that we are managing our resources today, they are based on what we learned 30, 40, 50 years ago. We're managing them with the same amount of knowledge. And in the last 10 years in particular, this is a whole new world of fishing we're dealing with forward-facing sonar, invasive species, young anglers that are fishing machines like we've never seen before. We are dealing with a level of intelligent fishing pressure that we've never seen. Is it a fact that you haven't seen it so far? But I guarantee you it is changing. These things that we can't keep doing what we did the same way we did it for 25 or 30 years. We're just getting too much now. There's too many good fishermen, too much technology, and they're targeting. There's going to be a kickback. And you don't have to see it now, but it's going to happen. And you have to be proactive. We got to look at it. We've got to think out of the box a little bit because historically, everything says it's probably going to happen. So, and I know some agree, some don't disagree. I mean, it is what it is. We've seen that a lot of our big lakes get 4 fish limit is fine. But so, it's going to be what it is. I'm just sure. Again, I got the mic and it's my 2 cents. Share what I want to share with you. So again, I'm a big proponent of that. I want to go back to the muskie case. This is the classic story of a world-class muskie fishery that collapsed for all the wrong reasons. It was a disaster what happened to the muskie fishery in the state of Minnesota. And we should be ashamed of ourselves because it was a political thing. And it had nothing to do with the resources. Nothing. Somebody in Detroit Lakes got a bug from somebody else that the muskies ate all their walleyes. The reasons the muskies ate all their walleyes, and that's why a bunch of you guys, the old timers that live, don't take offense if you're an old timer. They were going to the same spots, dragging that in your rig at 25 feet of water for 25 years, at this time, on this lake, on this spot, I always got my limit of walleyes, and it hasn't happened in 2 years. The muskies must ate all the walleyes. That's our problem. And they jumped on it. And this guy sold the bill of goods to the public. They armed it the Lake Association, and they put a moratorium on the muskie stocking program at a point that the muskie fishing, and then the DNR should be so proud of what they did and how they managed. The fishing was so good, so many big fish. The plan was to go to other lakes. You didn't have to go to Lake of the Woods anymore. There was people coming to park, and they were coming from many different states to fish trophy muskie here in their home state of Minnesota. And the fishing was unbelievable for big fish. Unbelievable. It used to be a dream to fish an entire season and maybe get a 50-incher in Lake of the Woods. At that peak, when them big muskies were managing our resources here, you could go out on any given day, and it is a possibility that you had a good shot at a 50-inch fish. It was amazing. And we let it slip through the cracks. When we had, the muskies became a pawn in St. Paul in a game. Then we lost. It's turning back around now. You're seeing some interest come back into the fishing. It was unbelievable. How many of you fish muskie in here? Just out of curiosity. Look at hands. That was a huge loss. And I'm sick of it because I'm sick to my stomach because I'll never see it. We're back in, it's gonna rebound, we're gonna make some changes. I'm told I ain't gonna be able to see those same days again. But we can, your grandkids would, the next generation can. So we can get that thing turned back around. Because we gotta start making the right decisions for the right reasons. I'll talk a little bit about one of the more current pieces of subject matter. Open season for bass. I'm not going to make friends and influence people from a lot of things I'm going to say here now. And I know that. But I got to say it because I believe in my gut that it's right. The industry, we're going to see more people fish. We got an open season. We're going to sell more tackle. More people are going to come in fishing. And that's all true. It's all true. There's a reason why Minnesota's fishing for bass is so good. It's the best in the country when it comes to 1.5 to 3.5 pound largemouth bass. There's not a place that beats it. That includes Texas. When you talk overall, if there's a body of water in the state of Minnesota that's probably got a largemouth bass in it someplace. They're in there everywhere. The industry loves the idea we're going to have more people fishing, we're going to die. If it was my call and I had the authority to make that call, I would have never opened it. I would have left it closed. The reason that fishery is so good is because of the regulations, and I'm convinced that we had the regulations that have been in hand for 50, 60 years, whatever they are, with those fish. I would, as sure as I'm up here, I will challenge you 5 years from now. We're going to look at a meeting like this and say the largemouth bass fishing isn't what it used to be. I believe we are opening the door for a problem. It's not going to change. People are going to disagree with me here. Am I going to go fishing? I'm going to go fishing because it's legal. I'm going to do it. I like bass fishing. I'm going to do it. But some of the decisions, I wish some decisions would have been made tighter on that, like maybe before we open the entire state, could we have taken part of the state and opened it and spent a few years to see what happens? Could we put a restriction like no live bait? If you're fishing largemouth bass, no live bait can be used, or smallmouth bass. Devastating what a leech does under pork on a smallmouth bass. You know, you can look at websites, the social media sites now, and they're trimming the bass on these lakes. It's a window of time. The fall bite when you catch big fish, this window of time on lakes small and big, you're going to get into the biggest fish in the environment at one time, and they're incredibly vulnerable. At some points, they're absolutely stupid. And you're going to catch some big monster fish. And how many times do you take a picture of that fish, drop it in the boat, have her hit this one? It goes on and on and on. And like I said, I'm not going to win friends and influence people like this, but I will bet you 5 years from now, we're going to say, that was a mistake. I wish we didn't do it the way we did. We could have done it just a little bit differently. And other than that, I care about that because there's that many bass in our lakes here. The fishing is so good. The smallmouth, I'm concerned with a lot of things that are going to impact that bass fishery. And the reason we are that good people from all over the country come here because it is that good. And like I said, that's my 2 cents. And overall, beyond the shadow of a doubt, Minnesota is the best multi-species freshwater fishing in the entire country. Nothing really comes close to what we have to offer. And having been able to travel all over the country, fish all kind of different states, all kind of different places. I come back and cross the border and I say, thank the Lord that I live in Minnesota. Because even when it's bad, it's really good by national standards. And our job at MinFish is to drive this, to make sure that we can share these things, these observations we're seeing with the powers to be, our fisheries department. And so the biggest, I'm going to go back to this musky thing because it really irked me. I had 2 politicians in the Denver area when this went on, and they wanted to ask me about what my thoughts were on dumping muskies and Gull Lake and that. And I told them, they said, well, if you can give us some facts, that we have some information that we can show people that they're not eating up. So we worked on, we did this. We got Ohio, New York, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Ontario that did research. Every single one of them, without question, says the muskies aren't eating all your walleyes. That isn't the situation. The environment, the lake has changed a lot. You're fishing the same way you did 25 years ago. You got more suspended walleyes than we ever seen now. Maybe those fish were all out there and we never knew it until forward-facing sonar came on the scene. Maybe there's more walleyes in some of these lakes than we even imagine. And you're seeing them catch these big ones in open water now. I think it's a little too early to tell what's going to happen with that. We know that it is detrimental to muskie fishing. We know it's detrimental to crappie fishing in the wintertime in deep water when the fish are in the thousands of feet. We know that. But where does it go from here? And where does it go? You can't stop a lot of it. But how do you get? I don't have the answers to a lot of it, but I know the observations for sure are worth putting on the table and thinking about and looking at it. And then I'm going to throw in side benefit besides having phenomenal walleye fishing, smallmouth fishing, largemouth bass, crappie, bluegill. We're starting to turn the muskie fishery around again. And I know a lot of people. I seen how many hands went up of people that like to fish muskie. It was kind of, boy, you walk into Christopherson's and look at the bait shop and look at the wall. They have one back wall. It's all muskie stuff. It's not walleye stuff. It's muskie stuff. And they're selling it at $25, $35, $40 a bait. That's interesting, isn't it? But people love that. Then we got a really neat deal that is kind of fun to take advantage of. The DNR did a masterful job, world-class fishery sturgeon. They did it up on the Rainy River and here in Ottertail River. It's fun to go out and go on an Ottertail Lake or Big Pine and you're poking around and all of a sudden you see one of these submarines go boom. Or even cruising under the side of the boat like this. It's a special fish. They're really getting back in numbers. So there's a lot of things that we do right. MinFish is the point person on this. Collectively, I think we've made major headways, you know, in our sport, the future of where it is and where it's going. And like I said when I came up here earlier, they gave me the mic. Ron Schara said, go do whatever you want to do. Say whatever you want to say. Okay, that's my 2 cents on that say. So, that's it. And thank you for the opportunity to be here, share these things with you. I'm here the rest of the day. You want to talk during the break or anything, we'll do that. Can I turn this over to you, Ron, and go from there?
Thank you. Thank you, Al. It's hard to debate that guy because he spent more time on the water than all of us collectively, I'm sure. I fished with him. It's like 3 to 1, maybe even 4 or 5 to 1, I don't know. I'm the 1, he's the 4 or 5. But thank you for your message and your thoughts, and we might disagree or agree, but that makes the world go round.